Welcome back to Chaos Corner. It's your old buddy, the guardian of chaos, Big Daddy, and I tell it like it is. I'll say that to say this, down here in the bunker, 20 feet below the surface of the earth for show number 41. Yes, I get it. The lights are on. It's nice and bright. We're getting a strong signal down here in the bunker. It's beautiful outside. It's spring training. Let's go Mets. What I want to talk about here on show number 41 of Chaos Corner. First, let me welcome everybody aboard. It's been about, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 days since we've been down here in the bunker. Let me lower the distraction. We have a full crowd today because of the beautiful weather here in the greater Northeast metropolitan area. And as I said, let's hope for a full baseball season and get down to spring training. But I don't want to talk about that. There's a lot of breaking and trending news. It's live to tape today, same day coverage. We are going to get back to a complete idiot's guide to pro wrestling. A match made in heaven. Captain Lou Albano and Burt Randolph Sugar. Fans, we've been reviewing it now for weeks. It's going to be an unbelievable read. But what I want to talk about, to open up here, for my monologue, here at Chaos Corner, it's a big night tonight. AEW Dynamite, NXT, MLW Fusion. If you're a wrestling fan, if you're an insider, if you're just a casual, if you're in the IWC, if you will, you're going to want to stay tuned for tonight. AEW Dynamite. It's going to be a monster show. NXT, I hear they're moving to Tuesday nights. Hasn't been confirmed yet. Who knows? And then there's MLW Fusion. You're not going to want to miss it. Follow me on all social media platforms. We know that's Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Gab, Twitch, Rumble, D-Live. And follow my boys over at The Show. That's at Mario_Chaos. Don't you dare miss it. Don't go anywhere. We're going over to YouTube. Welcome back, fans. Chaos Corner, show number 41. We have a lot of things to cover. I definitely want to get into a pro wrestling idiot's guide, a complete idiot's guide to the world of pro wrestling. We've been covering it now for weeks. We have an excellent chapter that we're going to cover here today on show number 41. It will be Smoke and Mirrors is what we're going to cover today. In this chapter, we're going to talk about creating reality in the wrestling ring, tricks of the trade, staging the sound effects, and the very real reality of pain. So I'll say that to say this before we get going on a complete idiot's guide to the world of pro wrestling. Again, made in 1999, published in 99-2000, over 20 years ago. Captain Lou Albano, Burt Randolph Sugar, a match made in heaven. The forward by Bill Goldberg. It's a must for all insiders, fans, and everyone in the IWC. And for those that are books and authors and bestsellers, you're not going to want to miss that, and we're going to cover it. But what I want to start off with is what is hot and trending and the big topic in news that's going on in the pro wrestling world. The IWC tonight. First off, congrats to Bobby Lashley, the new WWE Monday Night Raw champion. A big victory. A lot of fans have been waiting for that for years. It's been almost 20 years in the making. TNA used them the right way. WWE never did, but it's about time. And it sets up for a lot of matches, whether it be Lashley and Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre, throw Randy Orton into the mix. The WWE may start trending with the big stars, and to have Roman Reigns and Bobby Lashley as the faces of your company and your brands. And if you get Brock Lesnar back into the fold, you have everything covered. It doesn't get any better than that. Throw in Drew McIntyre, which hasn't been a champion except for during the pandemic. And with WrestleMania coming up a mere month away, we're going to get live crowds. It's going to happen. I'm excited for spring training and baseball. You know I'm a lifelong Mets fan. We'll cover some of those on Chaos Corner. But I want to talk about what's happening tonight because this is what's pertinent. And if you're not watching wrestling tonight, pretty soon it's going to be almost 7 days a week as it is anyway if you count pay-per-views. Tonight is a big night. And this may be the end of what we know as Wednesday Night Wars. which is just a win for all of us all the way around if NXT goes to Tuesday. You'll have Monday Night Raw on Monday nights. You'll have NXT on Tuesdays. You'll have AEW and MLW Fusion on Wednesdays. And let's bounce back to Tuesday where you have Impact on Access and AEW Dark and then the new show by AEW Elevation. The only thing that's really not going on is on a Thursday night. Friday nights you have SmackDown. Saturday and Sundays are reserved for pay-per-views. So there'll really only be one night a week, more often than not, where there will be no pro wrestling if we go without NXT being on Wednesdays. A lot of people in the community are bitching and complaining about some of this, whether it be, oh, I have to cover too much on a Wednesday. I got to cover both products, NXT, AEW. I don't understand. Be happy. So now you'll cover it on Tuesdays. I think it's good for the fans, it's good for the community, and it's certainly good for the IWC and everyone that's doing podcasts. I don't do a podcast. I do a show. Live to tape, same day coverage, 6 minutes in here, down in the bunker. Okay, the heckling's going to start early. I have the music on. Sha-la-la-la-la-la. Up in the crock pot, we have some unbelievable chicken being mixed up with some potatoes and vegetables. It's going to be an unbelievable dinner here at Chaos Headquarters tonight. There's always some malfunction. Look, you see what happened here? Let me not get distracted, but you get entertainment here. You get variety before I cover a live to tape. This will be up today, as you know that I always do it, unedited, unscripted. There's no edit and chopping it up and putting it out in clips. What you see is what you get here at Chaos Corner. And before I get on to the big news tonight, vintage. I've said it before, Elvis. Look at this. This is vintage collectors from Graceland itself. You are my brown-eyed girl. Do you remember when we used to say sha-la-la-la-la-la? No? Leave it to the musicians? You know that I get 8 seconds, or is it 11 seconds, to talk over as a voiceover. No copyright infringements. We don't do that here. Elvis, the king. There's always a malfunction. You see all the different memorabilia. Let me not get distracted. This is what everybody complains about on Chaos Corner, but I want to talk about. We're going to put it on here right now. AEW Dynamite tonight. It's Crossroads, the go-home show leading into Revolution. All I'm going to do here before we get on to the complete idiot's guide of pro wrestling, I'm going to run down what's happening tonight. As I said, I'm repeating it. I'm redundant. I understand. I get it. Leave your comments. Hit the like, retweet, subscribe, turn on the bell. Spread the word. I get it. Tonight, leading into Revolution, which is this weekend. I'm going to try to come back. You know how I am. I go in streaks. What Chaos does down here, I'll say that to say this. We go 4 or 5 shows in 1 week. We take a couple of days off. We come back for a couple of shows. We're off for a day. We bang out 5 shows. That's why it's important to turn on the bell and be a subscriber. Hey, it's free. I'm president of the NRA, and that's not the National Rifle Association. That's never refuse anything, and that's what it's all about here at Chaos Corner. And again, thank you all for being here. So Crossroads tonight, AEW Dynamite, 8 o'clock on TNT. A lot of news we're going to cover here before we get into the guide, but I'm going to make it quick. We're going to try to make this show to an hour as I usually do. Tonight, the big man, Shaq Fu, Shaquille O'Neal, shows up in a pro wrestling ring. That's the big news. AEW, what they're doing and bringing in all the stars, whether you like it or don't like it, entertainment, it's bringing in revenue and eyes and the casuals, and that's what we want. I'm not saying I'm for it, I'm against it. It's entertainment. Okay, I'm probably going to catch the replay of the Mets game, and it's only spring training. I can't help it. Wrestling and baseball and wrestling, my 2 loves besides my family. Well, and what I do here for you guys. So tonight, Shaq and Jade Cargill. There hasn't been a more anticipated debut of a female grappler or a talent in quite some time, especially in AEW. So Jade Cargill, the Amazon, if you will, and Shaquille O'Neal step into the ring tonight live against the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, and Red Velvet, who you know is down and best friends with Cody's wife, Brandy Rose. This has been brewing for a long time. It's finally coming to a pinnacle. All the chicanery aside, all the chaos tonight on Dynamite. Shaquille O'Neal, the Glamazon Amazon, Jade Cargill, what an athlete she is, against Cody Rhodes and Red Velvet in an intergender tag team match. And now this is when I don't mind the intergender wrestling. It has its place, it has its attraction, unless you want to keep males and females. This is where I like it. So it ought to be entertaining, if anything. And I hope Shaq does himself well. Cody's definitely outsized here, as is Red Velvet. So if you want to go by size and strength, I'll go with Shaq and Jade Cargill. But that's tonight. Also, Tully Blanchard, after 30 years from the Four Horsemen, steps back into the ring and teams up with his tag team, Dasher and Wilder. FTR and Tully Blanchard take on the Jurassic Express tonight. And of course, we know that's Luchasaurus, Jungle Boy, who they're giving a huge push to, and Marco Stunt. Yes, not Short Sleeve Samson, who I just saw on the Kincaid Files. My old buddy, Short Sleeve Samson, one incredible midget wrestler, perhaps one of the best in the history of the business. If you didn't watch the Kincaid Files and Short Sleeve Samson on YouTube, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. But I think Short Sleeve is probably tougher and bigger than Marco Stunt. So that's tonight. FTR and Tully Blanchard returns to go against Jurassic Express. Also, Hangman Page teams up with John Silver to go against the big agent, the big party, Matt Hardy, and one half of Private Party, Mark Quinn. So this ought to be a very interesting bout. Hangman Page is an excellent talent. Matt Hardy is a legend. We know the ability of Silver to take punishment and to dish it out. And Mark Quinn and Private Party, I mean, for young lions, they are perhaps the future of tag team wrestling in the business. Also, in a qualifier for the ladder match at Revolution, Dark Order number 10, who I must say is jacked and in good shape, takes on Max Caster. Now, you know the connection here. He was the producer on Nightcap on SiriusXM Mad Dog Radio for my buddy, Mr. Vegas, Opposite Picks, Mr. Scotty Wetzel, who's now on Sports Grid Radio in the mornings. Max Caster used to be his producer over on SiriusXM. So I've gotten a deal with and talked to Max several times. So what an incredible talent Caster has. When I first dealt with him on the phone as the producer with Mr. Vegas, it was, I don't know, had to be more than 5 years ago. Maybe closer to 7, 8 years ago. Maybe, I'm not sure of the time frame, but that's the qualifier tonight for the ladder match at Revolution. Dark Order 10 and Platinum Max Caster, quite the entertainer. Also, the big show. That's why tonight, if you're gonna, don't miss AEW Dynamite, DVR, NXT. Go back and watch ML Fusion, but you gotta watch Dynamite because that's what's gonna be trending out of all three. Just my opinion, because I love all three products. The Big Show, a.k.a. Paul White, speaks out tonight and shows up at AEW. Now, you know he's going to be doing it with Shivani, AEW Dark, and a new show, Elevation, that's coming out on YouTube. That's why what's happening in the business and what's happening after we get rid of this pandemic and get it under control and open up like Texas is and Mississippi and all these other states, 100%, getting the kids back to school, moving on, moving forward. Don't get me started on what's going on in the Middle East, or social justice and all the BS and radical agendas and what they're pushing through. The country's going to wake up and find out what's really going on, but I'm not here for that. I know I always throw it in, I always say it, and then I addendum it. I don't really give a fuck. Change the channel if you don't like it. That's what you get here. So the Big Show, Paul White, shows up tonight. It'll be interesting to see what he has to say. I think he's going to end up getting back in the ring part-time somehow, some way. And don't be surprised if it's against Shaq or the Murder Hawk Monster or different guys like Cage. Big Show will be returning to the ring. I can almost guarantee it. And then this part I'm really looking forward to, especially after they attacked the Young Bucks' father last week or 2 weeks ago. You know they're facing the Young Bucks for the tag team titles at Revolution this weekend. Jericho and MJF in the Inner Circle hold a press conference tonight on AEW Dynamite. Fans, if you're not tuning into Dynamite tonight with Shaquille O'Neal, Jade Cargill, Tully returning, the Big Show shows up, Paul White, Jericho and MJF for the press conference. Who knows if with Kenny Omega and Don Callis and anybody and the Good Brothers or any Impact shows up tonight, if you know what I'm talking about. And let's not forget the news about the NWA returning, which has an impact, so to speak. And you see what I did there with AEW. So there's a lot of things going on in the pro wrestling world. Maybe that's why Thunder Rosa got knocked out of the tournament for the AEW women's title. They screwed over Britt Baker, who certainly put her effort in. I'm not saying she's the best talent, but they want to push Nyla Rose for some reason. I don't agree with it. It's a big topic here in the Northeast. It's a big topic around the country. Whether people like it, don't like it, you want to hear it, don't want to hear it, I don't really care. You can change the channel. It's my channel. I'll say what I want, but I still don't think it's fair. The whole transgender thing and letting women compete, biological men compete in women's sports, or biological women compete in men's sports, and because of all the whole different thing that's, and I know it's not politically correct, and I'm not trying to offend anybody, but I'm telling it like it is. I really don't care. It's not fair. It's not fair for the high school girls and the college girls and the people and the athletes, whether it be male or female, that put in all their effort, and now they have to compete against someone who's not the same as they are when it comes to biological. It's just my stance. I'm telling you how it is. If you don't like it, you could change it. You can come at me. You can leave a comment. I respect everyone. You can put your thoughts and opinions out there. So NWA coming back, and maybe that's why Thunder Rosa didn't get the title, and they're going to probably give it to Nyla Rose again. But again, it's a very touchy, strong topic. But I'm going to speak out against it, just to give my opinion. We're all allowed to give our opinions here. We really are. So remember, you can give yours, I'll give mine, but that's where I stand about that. Talented person, talented athlete, but certainly not fair in a lot of different ways if you sit there and think about it. And if you put your shoes in the other person's feet in the other person's shoes, maybe you can understand that. We all need to step in another person's shoes, no matter who it be. Let me get off the soapbox. 15 minutes in here. Tonight, AEW Dynamite. You're not going to want to miss it. Again, with that being said, let's get on to NXT. Tonight from the Capitol Wrestling Center. Listen, it's mainly going to be concentrated on tag teams. There's not a lot of announcements coming out of NXT tonight, but what they do have is going to be interesting. That was set up through Monday Night Raw and SmackDown, and a lot of different things happening on NXT tonight. And with the rumor of, will they move to Tuesdays? Will NXT move to Tuesday nights and no more Wednesday night wars, so to speak? I mean, what's going to happen? Like I said in the opening monologue, I think it's great for the fans. I think it's great for revenue. It's great for the talent. I really do, especially coming out of the pandemic, which I know we're going to do. Tonight from the Capitol Wrestling Center, the WWE Tag Team Champions from the ladies division, Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, show up on NXT to take on the winners of the women's division Dusty Rhodes Classic. We know who that is. Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai. That will be interesting tonight. But if you think Gonzalez and Kai have any chance to beat Baszler and Jax, it's not going to happen. There's no way Baszler and Jax are getting a push right now. I don't know why. I don't mind it. I'm not against it. But there's no way Gonzalez and Kai have a chance tonight. That's just my opinion. Also, in a match for the NXT Tag Team Championship tonight, which I think is going to be one of the most physical, rough, snug, tight, stiff matchups that you're ever going to want to see tonight on NXT. So make sure that you watch this out for the championships. Danny Burch and Oni Lorcan take on Tommaso Ciampa and Timothy Thatcher. Does it get any more physical and rough than these four men? So that's tonight on NXT. You're not going to want to miss it. DVR it, flick back and forth. I'm sure there's going to be more matchups to be announced on NXT, but that's all I have coming across my timeline right now. Also, tonight, and if you missed this, you're missing the boat. I keep telling you this every week. Court Bauer, what he's doing. MLW Fusion tonight is going to be unbelievable. Calvin Tankman takes on the Laredo Kid. The one-man demolition machine Paro returns. And if you haven't seen this guy, he is jacked. A lot of things going on in MLW. What is the fallout from Filthy Island? Tom Lawler will be at Fusion tonight. And if you saw Filthy Island, I wasn't that impressed with it, Lawler. I'm impressed with you. You're a tough son of a bitch. So Lawler will address the fallout from Filthy Island tonight on MLW Fusion. Also, Alicia Atut. I guess she's cute enough. She does a good job. You know, Got nothing to say. It's always nice to have something to look at, and she's very professional. Very professional. She will interview the Dynasty tonight. Now, listen, the Dynasty has changed over the last year or two. It was MJF, Richard Holiday, Alex Hammerstone. We know that MJF has gone on to AEW and is now in the inner circle with Jericho and he has Wardlow on his side. And we know Gino Medina came into the Dynasty for a little while. Well, exit stage left. Gino Medina is long gone. And now it's just the national openweight champion, Alex Hammerstone, and everybody in this room right now down in the bunker is breathing rarefied air. Richard Holiday. That's right. That's all that's left of the Dynasty. Now listen, two incredible forces. Richard Holiday, Alex Hammerstone, they will be on Fusion tonight. They will be interviewed by Alicia Atout. Who knows what's going to happen to the Dynasty moving forward and how much it has literally changed. Also, for the tag team titles of MLW tonight, I am looking forward to this. The champions, Los Parks. No me joda. I get it, maricon. Don't get me crazy, okay? Los Parks, the legendary luchadors, the tag team champions, take on Contra Unit tonight, and that's with Simon Gotch, one tough son of a bitch, and Davari. I believe that who is representing Contra Unit tonight against Los Parks for the MLW Tag Team Championships. And in the big one, they've been talking about this for weeks, and I don't like his chances. But Jordan Oliver, one hell of a talented grappler, steps up to the plate, comes down to the aisle, to use a baseball term, steps up to the plate. You see what I did. Comes down to the aisle and steps into the ring with Jacob Fatu from the Samoan Dynasty, the MLW heavyweight champion. Tonight on MLW Fusion. You are not going to want to miss that one. Fans, you don't have to watch it all in one night. My choice will be Dynamite live tonight, but I'll flick back and forth. I will certainly DVR NXT and go back to see what's going on, and then hit YouTube, obviously for Chaos Corner, and then to watch MLW Fusion. That's what's happening tonight. A lot of different things, a big night in the world of pro wrestling, a lot of announcements coming out. And seeing I was talking about Jacob Fatu and the Samoan Dynasty, have you caught Young Rock again last night? They're on episode 3. Before we move on here, I just want to briefly touch upon that. It really has been something. And again, I mentioned it on the last couple of shows since it's come out. Dwayne Johnson, Young Rock on Tuesday nights on the Peacock Network, where the premise is Rock in like 2032 or 2034, which really isn't that far away. It's like they're prepping you almost. Is running for president, and they go through his whole life with Rocky Johnson and obviously his whole family, and the major players in it obviously are Afa and Sika of the Wild Samoans and Andre the Giant and the Iron Sheik and the Junkyard Dog. And in this episode they had Macho Man Savage, and of course they show High Chief Peter Maivia, and then the legendary Leah Maivia. So what they do and the guys that portray the different talent and the athletes has been unbelievable, and it's nice to see pro wrestling and what I grew up on and the characters and people I even know from the business and the way they're portraying it now on mainstream media. It really is. A lot of people say, it's take it for what it's worth. Take it for what it is. Positivity and realize it's a sitcom and there's some truth to it, and enjoy your childhood and the past and what you grew up on and learn your history and pay homage to the business and the industry and those who came before you. Take it for what it's worth. It's very entertaining, so I find it to be something. And the third episode in it was really good, and it brings back a good feeling about the business that's not always portrayed in the best light, whether it be John Stossel getting bitch slapped by David Schultz at Madison Square Garden, or the King Lawler bitch slapping Andy Kaufman on Letterman, or what Hogan did to Belzer back in the day, and all the different things that you talk about and how it's been portrayed in mainstream media. So it's nice to see. And the Young Rock I find entertaining. And speaking about mainstream and what's coming out, Dark Side of the Ring Season 3, which features everything from the ECW documentary to several different grapplers. So on Vice TV, coming up pretty soon, Dark Side of the Ring Season 3 will be out. And if you're haven't seen it, go back and check out the first 2 seasons of Dark Side of the Ring. And I get it. It doesn't always portray it in a positive light, and it brings out the bad, but it's the history of the business in other ways. So that's what you see in mainstream media. Dark Side of the Ring, it's coming out pretty soon. And I will also want to address, because I will be listening to him tonight, Maintaining the Truth on Facebook Live tonight with Paul Roman, Avi Klein. I talk about it every show on here. Wrestling with Anything But on Facebook Live and all social media platforms. It's on 7 days a week for 2 hours a night live. Mondays, it's going to be the Olympic strongman Ken Patera, the review and preview show with JC Farina. Tuesdays, it's Glacier Ray Lloyd breaking the ice, and then Bill DeMott on Face Value. Wednesdays is Maintaining the Truth with Paul Roma. Thursdays is Making Waves with the Magnificent One WWE Hall of Famer Don Morocco. Fridays is Road to Recovery with Duke the Dumpster Drosy. Sundays is the Patriot Del Wilkes and Unmasking the Truth. And of course, Saturdays is the Green Room with everybody from Avi Klein to Howard Collado to Mickey Doyle to David Holliday, and then all the gentlemen that I just mentioned, the mainstream stars from the world of professional wrestling. Wrestling with Anything But. 7 days a week. You won't find anything like it. And the host for all these is Avi Klein. That's right. One Mr. Avi Klein is the brain trust behind Wrestling with Anything But. 7 days a week with a group of men second to none, with a broadcast platform that is unbelievable. If you're not watching that and catching it, I don't know what the hell you're doing in this business, because it's Wrestling with Anything But. And I'll say that to say this. We're just about 26, 27 minutes in. If I look across the timeline, thank you guys for no minimal heckling. Let's take a quick break. We did the news, what's going on tonight, live to tape, show number 41, Chaos Corner, same day coverage. This will be up on YouTube. Fans, thanks for being here. So now that I covered all of the stuff that's happening tonight, and again, I didn't want to cover Impact on Access last night. It was an unbelievable match between Diana Perrazzo, Tomato, however you say it, one hell of a grappler. Jordan Grace was there. The match that they had, and then throw in Tasha Steele. No, it was not that half of fire and flavor. It was Kiera Hogan. Last night's matchup on Impact between the Impact champion Diana Perrazzo, Jordan Grace, and Kiera Hogan. Kiera Hogan was one of the best female matches I've seen in quite some time. It really was an incredible bout. And then there was a whole bunch of ladies around the ringside, whether it be the Legend Jazz, and of course, ODB showed up to attack Diana at the win. It was a big victory by Perrazzo over Jordan Grace and Kiera Hogan. So I just wanted to throw that in there as we come up on almost the 30-minute mark. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to get some beverage. We're going to bing, bing, bing. We're going to laugh. And then for the second half of show number 41, a complete idiot's guide to pro wrestling. A match made in heaven. Captain Lou Albano and Burt Randolph Sugar, with yours truly, the Guardian of Chaos, Big Daddy. And I tell it like it is. So I'm not going to say don't you dare miss it, but stand by. We might even have a little dead air, but that's okay. I know, I get it. I scared the rats off cheesecake. You saw my head on the side of the Boar's Head truck today. I have a face for radio. I make onions cry. I understand that. In all seriousness, thanks for being here. Gotta hydrate. Got a bunch of tests coming up that I gotta handle and take care of, so I gotta hydrate, gotta fast, drop a couple of pounds, but everything's good here at Chaos Corner. The bunker, if you will, with Chaos headquarters, the main state right here in the Nutmeg State, the Constitution State, if you will. How ironic is that? Stand by. Don't go anywhere. One of these times, I'll get one of my assistants to come over and maybe sit in. And no, I won't do that. It's a one-man show. Excuse me, that's why I'm getting the halls. Although it's bright and sunny out, the other night and the winds up here on the mountains, I thought it was literally going to blow the headquarters right off the mountain with the 50 and 60 mile an hour winds we had here a couple of nights ago. And I was just talking to WWE veteran from 84 to 92, who's on tonight on Maintaining the Truth with Paul Roma and Avi Klein for Mario's Corner. And that would be one Mario Mancini, who was just in the Big E documentary that had a brief clip of Mancini being pinned by King Kong Bundy. So it's nice to be still relevant years later. He was at one time the youngest grappler in the World Wrestling Federation in 1984 at only 18 years old. You know, he's been in 3 fucking dictionaries for the WWE. Wait. If he's watching this, because I know he isn't. 3 encyclopedias of the WWE. Because you know how I know he's not watching this as we're 30 minutes in right now? Because I talked to him the other night, and we were talking about Mario's Corner on Maintaining the Truth with Wrestling with Anything But with Avi Klein and Pretty Paul Roma. Mario's Corner, Chaos Corner. So we were talking about that, and he said, Big Daddy, I got to be honest. I can't watch more than 10 or 15 minutes of anybody talking to themselves for that long. Whether it be Jim Cornette, Jim Ross, Mean Gene Okerlund. That's literally what he said to me. So I guess I get it. So at 30 minutes in right now, I could say anything. And I know that my former broadcast partner, Mario Mancini, is not listening or watching. He's a Yankees fan, and he wears that fucking Yankees jacket all the time. The same one. Mets. Maybe we'll meet in the 2021 World Series. All right, fans, let's get on. I hydrated. I threw a little few jokes out there. We're going to get onto a pro wrestling idiot's guide to pro wrestling. Complete idiot's guide to pro wrestling. Again, fans, I've talked about it. Go back and check out, I believe, show number 36, 37, 38, or 37, 38, and 39 were all about this book. And here we are, 40. We took a break for news and notes because there was a lot of breaking news, as we did for the first half an hour here tonight. Well, actually, this afternoon, the sun's almost beaming into the bunker. There is one little portal. You know what that's for. You never know. So if you go back and check out those episodes, you're going to learn a lot, fans. What I do here is throughout history of the business, and you're going to learn a lot. I live this business. I was in this business, this industry, and a lot of this stuff still applies. I feel like I contributed to the book, not to be too arrogant or narcissistic, but it's the truth, because when you live it, and now that you see it put into words, and it's 20-something years later, and it's still relevant. We're going to move on, and I'll do the sidebars, and we'll get into Chapter 4, Smoke and Mirrors. And I told you in the opening monologue what we're going to talk about. So I really want to cover this. Thanks, guys, for being here. Show number 41, live to tape. Yes, I have the halls. Remember that wonderful line Jack Nicholson as the Joker uttered in the movie Batman, as he marveled at his antagonist? How does he do these things? Well, that line could be applied to wrestling as well. How do wrestlers do those things, like flying off the top rope and landing on an opponent's chest or throat without smashing him into a smaller, tidier little pieces? Like hitting an opponent with an iron folding chair without rendering the hitter senseless. The hittee senseless. Should I say the Bully Ray comment right now about how I get 7 spots and fuck up 6 of them? I cussed like 5 times, so my granddaughter's going to be happy. It's about $100. Hittee senseless with the folding chair. Like smitting the opponents with a jarring punch that sounds like it should have felled 6 or 7 bystanders, like a smaller man lifting his mammoth opponent high above his head and smashing him to the mat with the greatest of ease. In this chapter, you'll find out. Reality is in the eye of the beholder. Now, I don't think I'm telling tales out of school or giving away any trade secrets when I tell you that what you see in professional wrestling isn't always what you get. I know, it looks real, but there's a secret. One I'm going to let you in on, which a lot of people have exposed before, so this is something you can find out. I'm not revealing anything that you don't know. I'm just reviewing it in the chaos way. Big Daddy, if you will. Professional wrestling creates the illusion of violence, and what the wrestlers do in the ring looks real, but it isn't, to an extent. After all, a real hammerlock could break a guy's arm. A real step-over toe hold could destroy his ankle. And after all, what is real these days anyway? The fights on the Jerry Springer show. Yours truly with the Iron Sheik. No, but they can call that television. The sham news report on CNN about nerve gas. No, but they call that news reporting. The moves and falls in professional wrestling. No, but the critics call those fake. See the difference? Neither do I. Get it? Years ago, Arlo Guthrie and Country Joe McDonald taught us that the world was absurd, not what it was supposed to be. Theater, television, movies, wrestling, it's all about suspended disbelief, making what is not real into what appears to be real. And the moves and maneuvers and manipulations in a wrestling ring are as real as it gets. Sort of like those of movie stuntmen, which I've been saying for years, who are portraying their on-camera antics as real. I know there are those out there who think it's sacrilegious to consider any alternative to their belief that wrestling is not real. Others believe it's all make-believe, or as Hulk Hogan has said, for those who believe, you don't need an explanation. For those who don't believe, no amount of explaining will ever do. I straddle the middle ground, admitting that some of it ain't quite what it seems and some is. So let me try to explain how in many cases only the ring is square. To understand professional wrestling and how it got to where it is, you must first understand its background, its ancestry. Professional wrestling as we know it today is an outgrowth of carnival at shows. We covered that on the last couple of episodes. Run by men who, if you had but shaken their hands, would have you counting not only your rings, but also your fingers afterward, in a world where a scam a day kept the creditors away. Carney operators always had enough scams to stay one step ahead of them. The carnies, as they were called, even invented a language of their own so they could talk to each other about cheating someone right in front of his face. Today, the wrestling world has its own version of that invented language called kayfabe, which isn't alive anymore. You could see when this was written 21 years ago, over 20 years ago, kayfabe wasn't like it was in the 60s and the 50s and the 70s, even into the 80s, maybe even a little bit into the 90s. But you know how it is here in 2021. Kayfabe has been dead for 20 years, maybe longer. But this is where it came from, the carnies, the language. This is what I talked about on shows 37, 38, and 39. So please, I implore you to go back and check those out. When the carnies teamed up with the pure old-fashioned hustlers and barnstormers, it's no wonder that wrestling lost its resemblance to the scientific style of the old days and became more of a performance sport. These men traveled from town to town, touting champions with phony biographies who often to take on anyone in the audience or each other, all in the name of money. I always say follow the money. And if these early promoters were in danger of losing money, they would stop at very little, even hitting a local yokel over the head with a bat, so avert a payoff of any kind, so you didn't have to pay the guy. I mean, a lot of that stuff happened. I was involved in some of that stuff where promoters, we wouldn't leave the ring, or we took the ring down, or we would boycott because they went out the back door, or they stole all the money, and listen, that happens a lot. Even to this current day. So you see where the history comes from and how this is the part of the business that I've always said. If you look back on the shoot video here on this channel from 20 years ago, I've been saying this for 35 years. I said it in the Hall of Fame speech at the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. This is the part of the business that I absolutely hate and despise and disgust. This part right here. I'm going to go on to a sidebar right now of fighting words. Real means the real deal, the genuine article, the honest fact. Lots of moves, leaps, and holds are choreographed in pro wrestling, but there's still a lot of real going on in the ring too. It's up to the fan to spot which is which. Professional wrestling's roots are so intertwined with old carnival operators or carnies that the language of wrestlers today is called, and we know it's not relevant, but it was relevant, and we all know the word, kayfabe. Derivation. How the heck did I get into that? Derivation. Derivative? I mean, am I Bueller? Now you say something. Now you say derivative. Okay, of the carnival, kayfabe is a derivative of the carnival dialect where the con man could discuss the con right in front of the mark without the mark knowing it. And we know the word mark because we're all marks. So do you see where it's coming from? Do you see the history? And you see, fans, what we do here, it's live to tape. It's unedited. So you see the gaffes, the goofs, the bloopers, and the blunders as we speak. And the live heckles. But that's what makes this channel different. Not any better. I've said it all the time. So thanks for being here and putting up with it. We haven't been here in 5 days. Very interesting when it comes to the sidebar fighting words. This is stuff that we were taught years ago, and that's why I like reviewing it and bringing it out to you fans in this context. Don't forget the context that we're in as we're 40 minutes in here, show number 41. Spikeless punches and other sleights of hand. How, you may ask, can a person take repetitive blows to the head from a huge, strong opponent and keep coming back for more? The answer can be found in some basic laws of physics and an audience's ability to suspend disbelief. Put the two together and you have spectacular theater in the squared circle. The most well-known law of physics, almost the first rule of physics 101, involves the collision of parallel flat surfaces. This disperses the force of impact across the plane of contact. Every time a wrestler whacks another one with a folded chair, they hit something flat, like the back, with the flat part of the chair. And the guys leaping off the top strand of ropes always aim at a man either standing up so that he can be caught, or lying completely prone so they can collide chest to chest, flat body part to flat body part. Are you getting it? Are you understanding? Are you writing down? School is in session. Flat to flat is the first rule then, which might explain why moves like the clothesline and the forearm smash are so popular among wrestlers. They're dramatic and they follow rule number 1. Second rule, attackers will never put their full weight behind a blow. Rather, a wrestler will soften it by going off to the side when possible, so that rather than frescoing his opponent. He is merely lacing him gingerly. Whenever possible, wrestlers take care of each other, help one another, work together, and while nothing is staged to 100% guarantee that one will not hurt one another, wrestlers do take precautions not to. Pain is no problem for these gifted athletes, but missing the next show, now that's a problem. So while the fans may see contact, hear contact, and believe there was contact, what contact there was in the main was incidental and the effect illusionary. Because although a punch actually lands, it has very little impact and is rarely as forceful or as lethal as it looks and sounds. It is not delivered with the flat, at least not a closed fist. Interesting. You knew it. It was exposed back when they had these documentaries and the exposés came out back in the days when the guys were behind the mask, whatever. The wrestling expose exposing the business. You remember the documentary that first hit the air? Go back and check that out for history. Let's get on to a Bert's Corner here. Oh, sure. Some wrestlers new to the business or in the mum and pop culture circuits are so bad that you can see their moves, which might appear almost burlesque-y. These are wrestlers who are not very good, obviously green, at the art of performing, and it can almost be instructive to watch them. Then you'll know just how good can be. And that's why you get to a reputable school, whether it be Paradise Alley, Team 3D Academy. That's what I'm talking about. This is what the business is all about. And it's the performance and the artist of the entertainer and being a stuntman. The risks are real, but you see how it's broken down here. And this was 21 years ago. And you see how much the business has changed now. And if you watch Dynamite and everything that's going to happen tonight in NXT and MLW, Impact, Ring of Honor, you're going to see all this stuff. And with the NWA coming back too. Was that a Freudian slip? I meant NWA, not NAWA, for those who are paying attention here at 43 minutes in. We're going to keep this under an hour, I promise. All right, fans. As I said, the punch, it's delivered with the fist, but obviously not the closed fist. As much as with the forearm. The fist, after all, is a bony and it's your hand. While the forearm softens the blow for both wrestlers, while at the same time it makes a loud slapping sound, and that's why I don't like the leg slaps today, and that's what the difference is. We used to lay them in there like this, and now today it's like this. At least this was like this, and it was real, and you're connecting it. It's skin against skin, but that you're not even connecting anything with yourself. Don't get me started here, please. And even on the rare occasions when the closed fist is employed, a punch is pulled, although contact is made, there is very little power behind it. Here's a great example, and I'm going to show you this photo. Jerry King Lawler leaps onto an opponent with a punch, and really, he'll land the flat to the flat, if you understand the lingo and the demographics and what I'm putting out here. He pulled that punch for a great dramatic effect, but little damage. It's a photo by Norman Keitzer. I don't know if you can see it. It's a little dark, but I'll put it up here. Lawler is one of the best at throwing the fist and the closed fist and making it look flat. The legendary Lawler, you know, there it is from the top rope. The lighting's a little different here. We switched cameras. So unbelievable. Lawler really is. I had a chance to work with Lawler. I can't count how many times. And for him to be 70 years old and still doing what he's doing all the way back to the 70s. And of course, you know, he's the king of Memphis. So you got to respect Jerry King Lawler. Then there are the slaps as opposed to the closed fist hits, which I just covered and went off on a rant. I get it. An open-handed slap makes a lot of noise and stings only a little, reddening the recipient's skin just a bit. Little damage is done, but the reverberating sound carries throughout the arena and adds to the illusion of reality visually as well as audibly. Chops, which is one of the ways you're going to earn it in the business too. Those punches in which the arm comes down and the axe-like move work in a similar manner. Keep your eye fixed on a wrestler throwing a chop or a chopping punch, and you may see the edge of his hand being turned at the very last second, turning it into a slap instead of a hard chop. Wrestling 101. Only the ring is square. Anyone looking at the enclosure called the ring can see that it's not a ring at all, but instead a square area. If the very name of the area where wrestling takes place is not what it's called, then it's no surprise that what happens inside it isn't quite as what it seems either. Fans, this is interesting stuff. But whatever you call the ring, it's sometimes called the squared circle. Its ropes, turnbuckles, and aprons offer great opportunities for moves and maneuvers. First, there are the turnbuckles. Those are the four-corner posts that hold the ropes and sometimes carry advertising for hotels or beer or something of that sort. The padding on the turnbuckles is very thick and is one of the softest, most flexible places in the ring. It not only cushions blows extremely well, it's as safe a place a wrestler can find outside the dressing room. And it has its uses as a gimmick too, a la George the Animal Steele, who often bit the turnbuckles and ripped them apart with his teeth as part of his shtick. However, on those rare occasions when the padding slips and the metal part of the turnbuckle shows through, it can be extremely dangerous, as I always say. Then there are the ropes themselves. There was a time when they were meant for the sole purpose of defining the sphere of action for keeping wrestlers inside the ring. Now, however, they have become part and parcel of what most wrestlers' repertoires, either as a platform from which they jump or as a cantilever. Boy, some of these words. Burt Randolph Sugar was quite the linguistic man. Let's try that again. Cantilever, from which to propel themselves. And wrestlers with daring do have used ropes for gravity-defying aerial gymnastics worthy of Douglas Fairbanks Sr., who, not incidentally, used to attend wrestling bouts in the old days to pick up pointers for his stuntman antics in silent movies. I get it. We're stumbling a little bit. The halls. Don't judge me. Be here for the entertainment. Jimmy Superfly Snuka was arguably the best at flying off the ropes. I'll take it out. Anyone? Thank God I have a little trash can over here. I know. I get it. I apologize at 48 minutes in. Jimmy Superfly Snuka was arguably the best at flying off the ropes. I can attest to that. Worked with him, too. I'll never forget the night in Boston. Jimmy Snuka and Jimmy Jr., myself and John Diamond, Coconut. I happened to pick up at the local grocery store, brought it to the arena, get in the ring. It's Diamond, the Jackmaster, against the Superfly. Snuka Jr.'s on the outside. I'm on the outside with Diamond. Of course, I always end up on the inside. I jump up with the Coconut that I snuck to ringside. Diamond has Jimmy Snuka in the corner of the ring post. Speaking about ring posts, holding them back. Chaos gets in. I hold up the Coconut. I dart as fast as I can across the ring because I think I'm going to lay out the legend, the Superfly. He ducks last minute. I smash the Jackmaster across the top of the dome piece, split him open. Snuka turns around, grabs me, gives me the famous Fijian headbutt. I'm laying there like a tuna that was just pulled out of the water on the deck of the boat. Roll out of the ring. Jimmy Jr. puts the boots to me. As I'm looking up, I see Snuka climb to the top of the rope. Whew! Flying body press on the top of John Diamond. It looked like he was 30 feet in the air. 1, 2, 3. Out go the lights. Blood everywhere. I get Diamond backstage, back into the dressing room. We ended up in Boston Memorial till about 5 o'clock in the morning. I split him open and he had to get 5 staples in his head. Jimmy Snuka, the Jackmaster, Jimmy Jr. This was for the World Wrestling Association with the Sparta brothers who worked for the WWE and ran a territory up north. What a night. I'll never forget it. And Jackmaster, I know you're watching. You still got the scar. I apologize, brother. I didn't mean to do it. I thought I was going to hit Snuka. He ducked. What do you want me to tell you? Fans, I'm getting a little carried away here on show number 41. We're in chapter 4. I kind of lost where I was. I was explaining the business. We're coming up on almost an hour. I'm going to keep this under an hour. I just wanted to get the news out there for the big shows tonight of AEW Dynamite, NXT, MLW Fusion, and get back into covering something that we've been covering for the last several shows that I want to finish because I find this more intriguing than anything that's going on, whether it be on Raw, SmackDown, NXT, AEW, Ring of Honor, Impact, New Japan, NWA returning. I find this more interesting in the history of the business. That's why I'm covering it. But of course, for the IWC and for all the fans, I have to cover the news. I want to put it out there. So, like we were talking about as I got on to the story of Superfly Jimmy Snuka and what happened in Boston, the human cannonball could manage almost 3 complete rotations of his balled-up body between the time he left the top rope and the time he landed atop his opponent, the guy lying flat on the canvas at the time. But how can men jump from somewhere up in the stratosphere and land on another without crushing him into a virtual pancake? Sort of the same way porcupines make love. That's how. Very carefully. One way to do this is the near miss. This is a jump executed to look like a direct hit when in fact the flying wrestler has landed close to, but not on his opponent. Another is to make the landings flesh to flesh. Knees, elbows, and other hard, bony parts are kept out of the way and don't make the impact. Instead, the wrestlers go belly to belly. In this maneuver, most of the power of the jump is absorbed by the jumping wrestler's hands and knees when they hit the canvas, which also gives a good loud impact. Bert's Corner. The term ring was first used in boxing's bare-knuckle days, when spectators would form a circle around the combatants and throw any fighter who had entered their midst back into the ring to continue fighting. Captain Lou's Corner here on Chaos Corner. The ring's turnbuckles are well padded. When you hit one or are thrown against one, you're not going to be hurt unless the padding has slipped. It has other uses as well, as we alluded to, and I was blessed enough to be on some of the same events over 20 years ago with George the Animal Steel, whom I once managed, this is Captain Lou talking, would bite the turnbuckles and rip them apart with his teeth as part of his shtick with the green tongue. I remember it like yesterday. Fans, unbelievable. A flying maneuver like this can be injurious to your health if you're not very accurate. If you get wrong, there's a strong chance that someone will be hurt and a great stunt will have gone bad. Then there's the mat itself. Mats in the old days were touted around from place to place, toted from place to place, from smoky beer halls to church basements, dirty and bacteria-laden. They were dangerous to the wrestlers, especially to their eyes in those pre-penicillin days. After years of getting his face rubbed into the canvas, Strangler Lewis went partially blind. Things are better today. The mats are clean and antiseptic, especially at PAPW. And they're used in 2 types of rings, the boxing ring, which is hard, and the wrestling ring, which is usually has springs built under the mat. But we know it's not like that in the independent circuit. It's if you've ever set up a ring, which is part of paying your dues in this business. Plywood, steel, this much of foam matting if you're lucky, padding, and that's it. Steel cables. It's much different in the ring, in the independent circuit, and even in some of the higher levels, because underneath there is no spring. And if you know anything about the business, yeah, maybe if you're working for a multi-billion-dollar corporation, they'll put something there with sound effects, but not in the groups where we dwell and we work and all the stars come back to. It's not like that. Okay, this is talking about the multi-billion-dollar. You're lucky enough to make it to the WWE, and it's still plywood, steel cables. Do your research. You'll understand what I'm talking about. The wrestling ring with its springs makes the moves and falls look more acrobatic and even more devastating. Seeing a wrestler bounce off the canvas almost doubles the effects of the blow and provides some of the mock violence our society seemingly enjoys. Well, not seemingly, in this day and age in 2021, you know they love it. But when a bout is held in a springless boxing ring, kind of like what's going on in the independents, although they are wrestling rings, the great bounces just don't happen. The moves and falls don't look as impressive, and the chance of injury to the wrestlers is greater. Bingo. Just what I was saying. And why I refer to the book of I lived it. I don't have to read it. I do it for the fans and for the IWC and because I enjoy it as a refresher. But you see, I'm one step ahead of the book that was written. Because when you live it and it's reality and it's your lifestyle, it's respect. Slamming, well, we're coming up on almost an hour. I have slamming and jamming here, pulling your leg and other holds. I'm going to go to move a little bit forward ahead right here to keep it under an hour. Here on show number 41, same day coverage, live to tape of Chaos Corner. It's your old buddy. It's me. It's the GOC. I'll move ahead before we end show number 41 because I'd like to keep it to an hour, a little over an hour. We had a lot of chicanery. We're still on chapter 4, and we'll bounce back to some of this stuff. But I want to go to, before we wrap up show number 41, and again, thanks for being here, folks. I greatly appreciate it. The best stuntmen in modern wrestling history. And we'll end the show with this. And remember, fans, this book was written over 12 years ago, a complete idiot's guide to the world of pro wrestling. Remember, still pertinent. The best stuntmen in modern wrestling history. Terry Funk, still wrestling at almost 50. Well, now he's over 70. He still does what's called a moonsault, a backward somersault off the top turnbuckle for the pinfall. Youngsters today known him as the Chainsaw Charlie. That's right, Chainsaw Charlie. Rey Mysterio Jr., a mascarada. A masked wrestler from Mexico, he invents new acrobatic maneuvers every match and often appears to defy gravity. Kind of like Rey Fenix of today. Unbelievable Rey Fenix in AEW. He is the new Mascarada, Rey Mysterio Jr. Shawn the Heartbreak Kid Michaels, obviously who's now retired. His athleticism is first class. In big matches, cage matches, ladder matches, and so on, he always delivers. Superfly Jimmy Snuka, as we just alluded to. The father of modern wrestling in many ways. He dived off things, ropes, turnbuckles, and so on in Madison Square Garden in the 1970s and upped the athleticism ante for everybody. Rowdy Roddy Piper and Ric Flair. Now you would wonder why they are in this category. Neither are outrageously athletic nor acrobatic, but both have a tremendous understanding of the psychology of a match and perform with style and impeccable timing. Unbelievable. Bingo. I couldn't have said it any better myself. Now, fans, I jumped a little bit ahead. We will go back and cover this, but I wanted to put that in there. I wanted to get out the news. I wanted to get back down into the bunker. I wanted to get this out. This is what makes me happy. This is my passion, my dedication, my enjoyment, and this is what I put out to you to inspire you, for those out there who, with your content, inspire me, and I can't thank you enough for that. So it's good to be back here at the bunker. I'm having a great time. I'm enjoying myself down here, and I hope the content that I'm bringing to you, whether it be current news, news, local news, reviewing books, to history, my connection to the show, and a look and peeling back the curtain, if you will, here at Chaos Corner with yours truly. Any suggestions, ideas, you want to get in touch with me, inbox me, email me, go back and view my over 600 or 700 videos here on the channel. We are thriving and expanding. Fans, you're not going to want to miss the branding here of the Guardian of Chaos. And with that being said, show number 41, live to tape, same day coverage covering everything that you can think of tonight. Watch AEW Dynamite, MLW Fusion, NXT. Stay positive, stay upbeat, and I'll say that to say this. Come back for episodes 42, 43, and moving forward, we're going to get back into a complete idiot's guide to the world of pro wrestling. This is the Guardian of Chaos who tells it like it is. Well, you already knew that. Exactly 1 hour. Spread the word. Don't you dare miss it.